welcome back to GGW's Fair Game podcast. It's a pretty beautiful day here at the Light and Wonder studio. Yes. I am joined today by Kate White and Bronwen. Hi, ladies. How are you?
Hello. Happy recording day. Always best day of the week.
I know. I said this is like my favorite seat because look at her face. She's just so happy all the time.
She's glowing. It's crazy.
She said, I'm radiating. It's recording day.
I'm the secret society of happy people, come to find out. So found out during our happiness episode.
And I need to point out, it wouldn't be fair if I didn't. Today, if those of you watching, you can see Kate White's earrings. She's really on point, very on brand.
They look beautiful.
They're getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and I'm so impressed.
Do you love them? Because I thought maybe if I can find some as big as my head, that might be big enough.
You're close. You're getting there.
Yes, we're going to help you find
almost
these.
Accomplished.
Yes, we're on the hunt for Kate's earrings.
Just wait. I've been on the hunt for G2E earrings. It's going to be fun.
I'm excited to see this. Surprise earrings.
All right. So I'm excited for everybody to hear what we have in store today. So we're talking about a pretty crucial topic, male allyship. We're in a field where the competition is pretty fierce, right? And the stakes are really high. And having support is really important, especially from male allies. So we're going to dive into how it can make all the difference today. Are we excited?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a pretty important topic. So what does male allyship look like to you guys?
Yeah, I think this one's, and you know my personal on this one because I work in IT too, right? So allyship is huge, tons of dudes. But for me, I think it's more personal, right? A lot of people come in, they bring allies in, they may find them at work, they may find them in their personal life. But for me, the touch an ally gives on the personal level it kind of changes the game for me. So I don't know about you guys, but definitely just having that person and feeling that comfort, I think is a big piece of it.
Yes, I completely agree. Allyship is so wildly important, especially for affirming potential, right? And ensuring, right, that you're being spoken about in those rooms that you're not in. And also, too, I think it's important to note the difference between allyship and sponsorship, right? So sponsorship being more so, right, people that are actually helping you advance in the sense of going back to those rooms that you're not in, right? Like bringing up your name whenever possible to help you advance in your personal goals, your professional career, et cetera. Whereas allyship, of course, is, consistently being a support and always, right, like advocating. But sponsorship is really taking it to the next level.
Yeah. And I think we're going to explore that today in a pretty unique way. So the three of us have found a male ally in our life that has meant something to us, right? And I think what we do is we show how important it is for them to continue to uplift women and the impact that they've had on us. And hopefully that continues to spread, right? And if they can go do that for other women and uplift them and show power in their career, I think it's just going to continue that message. So we're doing it in a cool way today. We're each going to interview our male ally, and I'm pretty excited about this conversation.
Agreed. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting that we each get to bring our own perspective. Mm-hmm. It's going to be three very different people with three very different histories. I'm very excited.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like a personal journey, a professional journey.
Exactly.
Can we call it a mashup?
Oh yeah. Done. Mashup.
Yeah. Ally mashup. I love
that.
It.
All right, our first 3 guest episode.
Let's get into it. All right. Matt, thanks so much for joining us today. I really appreciate you being here. I'm excited about this episode because I love to highlight stories of people supporting other people. And I think you've been a big supporter of mine for a long time, and I really appreciate everything you've done for me. And I want to show our listeners how cool it is to have that kind of support. So I want to kick it off today. I've known you for a long time. I was thinking about it. I'm like, I think we're up to like over 10 years now. So I know a lot about you, but I would love for you to just take a couple of minutes, just tell us a little bit about yourself and give us a couple cool things, and then we can jump off into the interview.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for having me, and thank you for inviting me. It means a great deal, and I'm very happy to be here. I guess my journey, we've known each other 10 years. I've been at Aristocrat 10 years, and I guess my journey, I'm clearly from Australia, so been in the gaming industry really my whole life. So this is what I do. I grew up in it. My dad was in it. I moved here to Las Vegas 10 years ago. I've been married 17 years to an amazing woman, Casey. Give her a shout out. How are you? She probably won't listen, but just in case.
I hope she listens.
Well, we've got 3 relatively young boys, so she's very busy. So I've got 3 boys, 12, 10, and 8. Our youngest was born here in Las Vegas, so this will always be, no matter where we end up, will always be a big part of our lives. And I guess that's the short version. And we're just a normal, busy family chasing 3 active boys around a sport, and I'm the usual Uber driver to sport events and that sort of thing.
The weekend soccer schedule that goes from like 7 a.m. till the afternoon at 110. Yeah,
You got it. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
perfect. So I love that you and I have the family in the industry in common. I think that is something that is a good bonder and a good conversation starter for us. I think we've had many conversations about all of that. You also have a brother in the industry. Tell us a little bit about what you do at Aristocrat. What is your role?
Yeah, I'm Chief Product Officer. I'm on the executive team, and I'm in a global role, so overseeing product strategy for the whole organization, not just the land-based gaming business, but all 3 arms and divisions of our business, which I think I've got the best job in the business. I think I'm very, very lucky to do what I do. I'm surrounded by amazingly talented people who make my life and my job really easy, and they make it look really easy. I know what they do is really hard, and I guess I just feel really privileged to have the job that I do, because I do think I've got the best job in the company.
Yeah, so I'm lucky enough to be in your team, and I think that I've done a couple of different roles at Aristocrat, and I think that in this current one that I'm in, I'm finding that this is the most fun, right? Like, we get to play with games and we get to watch people make them, and it's such a fascinating world to be in. So I think you're right. I think you do have the coolest job in the world. Okay, so let's jump into the topic today. Obviously, today's topic is male allyship and how important that is in the industry, and how important it is, especially in this male-dominated industry, right, to help lift women up and to help with gender equality. I kind of alluded to this in the beginning. I asked you on because you've made a massive impact on me in my career, not just on my career, but me as a person too. You've always been available. You're supportive. You're helpful. And I know that it's not just with me. I see you do it with other people in the industry. And so I wanted to come in and ask you a couple questions today on how you've gone along in that journey and what that's meant for you. So let's just kick it off with a couple of things. Talk to me a little bit about some concrete actions you've taken to support gender equality in your workplace.
Yeah, well, thanks for that, Lauren. That's really nice of you to say. So I guess I will say a lot of it comes down to the culture of the organisation. So I've been in the organisation 10 years, and I think I'm really lucky to be part of an organisation and work for a leader in Trevor Croker, who does all those things that you said as well. And I truly believe that leadership matters, and that sort of leadership is really contagious through the business. And Aristocrat, I guess myself, and I think Aristocrat, we're really passionate about building empowered teams and ensuring that myself, but all leaders are contributing to making Aristocrat as diverse and as inclusive and welcoming as it can possibly be, because I'm a huge believer that having the best and most talented team is the aim of the game, full stop. And I believe Aristocrat believes in that, and that's why I love it at Aristocrat and why I've been here 10 years. Our board, it comes from the board too. Yeah, we've got a clear diversity and inclusion D&I strategy. We've got metrics and we've got things that we work towards, and the board review that every year. And so I think that really helps. I guess when I was reflecting on coming on today, I did think that is a big part of it. The culture and the environment for us to be able to embody that is important, and I think we're seeing that at Aristocrat. Some of the things that I guess I'm doing, but more importantly, I think the business is also supporting. We've now joined a group called Work 180, which is a brand where they look at employers and say, is this an employer who does embody diversity and lives equity and inclusion? And if they are, then you can go on their platform, and it's really about then connecting it to possible employees who value that in an employer. And so those things I think really help us, because to me it's about getting the best and brightest and most diverse group of candidates at any point in time. And so putting ourselves there in those sorts of environments really help. I remember a few years ago, I wasn't happy personally with the amount of, I guess, diversity within some of our teams. So we did a deep dive, and we found some things that were really interesting, maybe is the right word, where we found that all the way through the process of trying to acquire talent, there were biases and really unconscious biases, because I truly believe that surrounded by amazingly talented people who want to do the best. But these unconscious biases were making it really difficult for us to get the best group of candidates in front of the hiring managers to be able to choose the best candidate. Things from the job descriptions that we put out were full of very masculine words. We had no idea. And in many cases...
So something you would really think about
No.
unless you actually pay attention to just that in specifics, right?
Yeah. Well, I think everyone copies and pastes, don't they? So I think once it's in there, once it's in there forever. So, and then, talking to some of the females that we had and in one case, one lady was the first and the only female in the team of too many. And so I was talking to her about her experience, and she really uncovered, she said things like, obviously that, but you get through that step, and then the time that the interview was on, we were putting interviews on at like 8 a.m. in the middle of a big city like Sydney or others, which makes it really, really difficult. If you're a working mother or anything like that, that's a really tough time for anyone to get there. So I think that was another hurdle that I think we're sending messages to possible candidates that, hey, we don't value flexibility here. This is not, again, not something that anyone sets out to do. Then you get through that, you push on and say, well, maybe aristocrat is for me. You get to the interview and it's, 3 or 4 6-foot men. It's an intimidating, there's just so many things where nobody's doing it on purpose. But I think all of those little things mean that when you then get to the final candidate pool, you don't have the best candidates. And that, I think, is the biggest problem with all of those things, because when you get the best candidates, the best person gets the job, you get great diversity, and that helps the business. And so I think that's been really big for us to be able to break down all of those steps. Another thing that Aristocrat's done is we've created a Ready to Rise program, we call it, which is...
Graduate.
Which, for those that don't know, it is an internal career development program, especially for women and their allies. And we've had over 1,000 women and their allies participate in that in the last 2 years since we launched it, which is phenomenal, which again, I think reflects that Aristocrat as an organisation believes in this, and it's important to our people. And I think that is what will make this continually sustainable and continually improve it, and discussions like today.
Yeah. And I think as a working mom, so I think back to some of the things I've experienced and how important that flexibility actually is, right? So it's interesting that you say advertising that from the jump so that you keep those candidates interested and make sure they understand that when you do actually get in here, it is that, right? Yeah. I'm a working mom. My husband works, so sometimes I have to drop off if he travels, if I travel. We have to be flexible enough to understand that, our work is our priority. We're going to get our job done, but we also have a kid that, we have to pick up sometimes, and I think that Aristocrat's done a really good job at making sure that flexibility is there for a lot of working moms, and it is an attractive piece of why it's good to work there.
And I think it's a really important part of our industry. I've been in this industry, you said we've both been in it.
Long time.
Yeah, well, and gainfully employed for some of it. I've been 24 years, and I am proud of how different this industry is to when I first came in. And I think that's one of the amazing things that manufacturers in particular can provide is that flexibility, because our timing and our schedules, and they're truly global businesses, they do allow great flexibility. I think that's a great opportunity for us to continue to attract and retain the best talent, especially when it comes to the best female talent.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's move on. So I'm just curious, how do you balance the role of being a supportive ally without overshadowing the voice of the women that you're there advocating for?
It's a good question. It's not something that I guess it has to come fairly organically, I would say, but I think it also comes with confidence and calmness. And I think as I've got older, as we get more comfortable, I would say the key for allyship is obviously that elevation. So elevating somebody, and then amplifying their voices, or said another way, maybe opening the door and then stepping back or not walking through it with them. And so I like that analogy that you can open the door for someone, but you don't have to go into the room with them. And I think that's a good way to think about it, is that it's not about you. And if you're always in the room, then we want to make it about ourselves. That's a very human thing. And so I think that's probably one thing that I think good allies do. I don't know if I'm a good ally or not, but I think that's one way I think about when I see people do it, is that they give all of us opportunities and they don't try and steal that limelight, I think is key. So that's my analogy. Open the door, but you don't always have to step in with them.
Okay, so time out. You are a good ally. That's why you're here today. So let's remember that. I know you don't love to take the credit, but honestly, that's why I wanted you to be here today, so that you did have a little light shine on all the stuff that you've done for women in this industry. And that's really important to me, and that's why you're here. So don't forget that. Okay.
Thank you, Lauren.
So what I will say, I, remember back a time in my career when I had just started in the sales role I was in, and I was constantly walking into rooms that were all men and me. And that has since changed. And, at one point in my career, I had like 50 something customers in Las Vegas, and I had one female slot director that I would work with to place games on her floor. And that was it. And so if you look at today, the amount of women in the room has definitely changed. And I know that we joke about how long we've been in the industry, but it is really cool to watch that progress and to watch that change. And it's kind of cool to say that we've had a big part in that.
Yeah, agreed.
All right. So talk to us a little bit about advice you would give other men who are starting to cue into this conversation and want to be better allies, and they might not know where to start.
Yeah. Well, look, I think that prior one is key. Don't make it about you. Amplify, open the door, but don't always walk through. I think the other thing that I've learned is, and you and I have had conversations, we have really honest conversations. I think that's one thing that I've got better at is just asking. Not assuming or not thinking that I know best or what you want, but being comfortable enough to have that conversation to really actively listen to your experiences. And so I would say to male allies and anyone is really do that. Be an active listener, seek to understand and really understand what people are going through, but then also as you're continuing to evolve it, continue to talk to people and just ask them. And I think that has really helped me because we all get in our own heads and we assume these things. And that, to me, that's not what it's about. I think probably the other thing is if you see something, speak up. I think that's a bit of a cliche, but if you see something that's unfair or biased, or if you see it happening, speak up. And I know many of us don't like that confrontation. We sort of think about it later and think, I wish I had said this, I had said that. And that's okay, but there's still an opportunity to come back and have that conversation. So I'd say that's important because I'm a big believer in it's not what we say, it's what we do that really matters, especially as a leader. And so I think people seeing us stand up or speak up and calling out bad behaviour. No, and in most cases it's not intentional, but I think that also goes a long way. And then mentorship and sponsorship, that's really key. And mentoring people and sponsoring them is probably a more formal way, but it's still a really important part of it, I would say. Yeah,
absolutely. All right. So what do you think the most surprising thing you've learned from working with strong women in your career is?
Surprising. Can I respectfully take offense to that question? I don't know if surprising is the right word because I wouldn't say I'm surprised. But I guess the thing that I notice, or the thing that I think that I see, is that the combination between the skills that what was your question? Strong women, I think was the phrase. I think the combination of empathy, collaboration, emotional intelligence, with tangible business outcomes, like strategic thinking. That's just such a powerful combination that I see in so many strong women in Aristocrat and other places, and we're all so much better for that. I've got amazing allies and mentors that I consider in that strong women that you talk about, and I see that in them. That combination of skills is really what I aspire to have. I think that having empathy, being able to walk a mile in someone else's shoes, understand the collaboration. I'm getting better, but I'm still not great. I'm a bit of a doer. I like to see a problem and do it. And so I think that combination of skills with that strategic thinking and being able to see the big picture, that they're the skills that I see when I think about strong women and when I think about those people in my career that have played a role. And I just think that's such a powerful combination that I think is really, really powerful for an organization.
Yeah, that was a really cool, powerful answer. So thank you. That's it. See, painless. I told you. I really appreciate you being here and being vulnerable and open and willing to discuss this topic. I know sometimes it's not necessarily an easy topic to talk about. And like you said, it's just about finding confidence in your ground and understanding that really you're just helping advance for the future and helping women find the gender equality in the roles that they're made for. I know it's like a cliche to say, but like 9 times out of 10, the women won't apply for the role that they are qualified for because they don't think they're qualified enough. And, continuing to have a voice and continuing to push women to do these things and find the confidence in their voices is really cool. And I think you're doing that. And so I just wanted to thank you. And I really appreciate you being on today.
Well, thank you. Yeah, as I said, it's not about me, and so I think it's anything we can do to continue to advance this conversation. I'm happy to, but I think you're an example of just doing amazing things at Aristocrat in your personal life here at GGW. So couldn't be proud to be part of it today, and thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right, so up next, we're going to watch an interview with Adam White, and it's hosted by wife Kate White. So it's a pretty unique situation there. And then you're going to see an interview hosted by Bronwen Gregg. She's going to interview her male ally, Bert Bean.
Okay, welcome to the GGW Fair Game Podcast, brought to you from my house, or I should say our house. I'm here today with my biggest ally. For those of you that don't know him or haven't heard me talk about him quite a bit, his name is Adam. So welcome, Adam. So for those of you that don't know the history, Adam and I are married, but used to work together about 10, 15 years ago. And he actually was one of the people that I thought of on this episode because he was the first one that introduced me to allyship. And let me explain that. So a long time ago, I was going through some issues. I found out my son was diagnosed with autism and I needed all kinds of crazy medical insurance that I didn't currently have at the time when Adam and I were working together. And so I thought, oh no, I'm going to have to move across the country and I'm going to have to do all these things and quit my job. And I just basically freaked out. So then I said, Adam, I need some advice and this is what's going on. And at the time I was lucky enough that he was listening and he was also in charge of the provider for the medical plan. So I went to him and I said, hey, I'm gonna have to move. And he said, no, don't move. Let's figure it out. So I think that was kind of the first time I realized what an ally might mean. I mean, coming from technology, I worked with a lot of guys as peers, but never really an ally. So is that how the story went? Is that how you
Yeah. And we got lucky enough to be able to put some dollars aside to add some things to the plan, but also then bump her responsibilities. And it was all because he didn't want to lose a valuable asset. I hadn't known too much of what she did, but at the time, Kate was able to get us down about 25 people and be really, really organized in doing that. And we were better for it. And I didn't want to see that particular skill set walk out the door. So it was really easy to be an advocate for what she needed, which I found out at the time. Also, there were probably 4 others in the organization that really benefited from what we did. And that allowed us to make that decision even easier.
That was a good decision. Good job. On that note, so just so people know who they're talking to, you want to tell them all about who you are?
Not just some guy.
Some rando.
I started off as a controller very early on. I was a controller at those that are used to the local thing at Al Phillips Cleaner, which is a little bit bigger. I was doing that at 19. Couple jobs here and there. Graduated at UNLV. I'm close to a Vegas native, though I've only been here since I was 4. Went to UNLV, came out of that, ended up working for Vegas.com. Was there as a controller, worked myself up to that, the full grind, changes of leadership and all that, and ended up owning the company at some point, or a piece of it. We recently had a transaction in November that allows us to spend a lot more time at home. Mostly me annoying Kate, but trying not to. So that's why we're here today. But I worked with Kate for 10 or 15 years, 10 years, 15 years before we had even started dating or anything. So there's a lot of stuff that I learned from her, and I'm excited to be here.
You did learn a lot from me. Let's talk about some of those things. So not only being a great professional ally, Adam's been a really good personal ally too. Just, once we got married, we were able to really come up with a great jam. And like he said, we've been able to put up with each other really well. But one of the first things that I wanted him to talk about was, kind of like allyship's this key term, right, that everybody sort of uses. But when was the first time you really saw that there was a need for having allies just in the workplace in general?
Yeah, I think it started with just seeing gaps in general in the workplace. And at the Vegas.com, the olden days, like in 2006, 2007, there was an executive leadership team and everybody in the building wanted to be in it. I somehow got in there almost the second week I was working, just because of how I came into the business. And I'd watched the interactions happening across around the table, and there was only one female in the group, which was really bothersome to me just in general. I come from a family of a lot of women, and they've always had their say. So, I'd like to be able to carry that forward into any kind of workspace. But what had happened is, all the buddies and good old boys were just kind of ganging up or dismissing opinions. Now, some of them were good, some of them were bad, some of them were very good, some of them were very bad, but they were just dismissed. And I decided at that point that I was going to just start making decisions that were best for the business, and it didn't really matter who was saying them. But what you would find is you'd have to be a little bit louder with your opinion to support somebody, if they already had that uphill battle with their opinions. And so I was happy to start doing that. And that particular group of individuals became a really good ally to me, as we try to navigate a bunch of financial storms that the city had, that Vegas.com had, all the way leading up to, and taught me a ton about customer management and supply chain and all those types of things that I had no idea how to get in front of people at the time. I was still really bad at it, but like, they helped me with a lot of that stuff to give me some confidence in there. But that was the first time that I said, well, there's a gap here. And in order to try to close that gap, you have to be a little bit louder, and a little more aggressive. And sometimes you can't make your business decisions based on your relationship you have with somebody. It has to be about the business. If you take care of the business, it normally will take care of you. And that's kind of where that started for me.
And some of that I think I even saw really early on, because like Adam mentioned, when the business was going through some issues, all these kind of new positions or new opportunities opened up, and his first question was always, well, why can't you? When I would say, I'm not really qualified to do that, or I don't think I could do that, and he would always say, well, why can't you? Why don't you just try it? And I think that's probably one of the biggest things you can do, and an ally perspective, is just support, right? Like what
Yep.
you're saying, just show up and be a little bit more of
Give
the
everybody the equal opportunity. And if you're able to do that, put your feelings aside about a bunch of things and just make the right decision for the business, which means whoever's the best for it, truly the best, that's who you pick.
amen to that. So speaking of the business, because we love the business, you keep in the past, you've told me too about this point that the business is better just when women are involved and when there's more of a diversity. And I think that's kind of what everybody says nowadays, right? It's a diverse kind of group will help improve your business results. But what have you seen personally when that's happened?
Yeah, so I have two examples of that. But one is less about customer facing, but more internally. And that the first one, we hired an HR consultant that was part of Amazon and Expedia. My former partner was part of Expedia, so we knew her. And he said, we have to get her in here to consult. She's the best in the business, and she's going to challenge us. And at that point, neither one of us had really been challenged in our business, because we just were the bosses, and that was how it was. She came in and interviewed everybody to make sure things were okay HR wise. That was all good, nothing bad there. But what she really said is, you have to do a salary survey. You have to get everybody on the same side, on the same thing. They need to know their bands. You need to make sure they're placed right, their titles are right. And that seemed the right thing to do. So we did that. The work was phenomenal that she did, but that wasn't the thing that really changed my view. The thing that changed my view is she sat us aside individually and said, you're going to have very difficult conversations. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm okay with that if it's a supplier or a negotiator, but my own employee, that's like my baby. I don't want to start arguing with them. I don't want anyone to feel bad. And she said, you're going to have to do this, and it's going to be the best for them. And there were a couple of individual conversations that we talked about, and women in particular. And she said, everybody wants to know the truth about their position. So you're going to have to put some of that stuff aside and just be honest and handle the conflict head on. And that's what we did. And we were better for it. Everyone was grateful. We had people that were way overpaid, and they hated that, but they were happy they were overpaid. We had people that were underpaid, and we fixed them. So the conversation to be more of a celebration of, we're not doing that bad, and we're trying to do better for you guys. And that was good. And she gave us the power to do that just because of her insight and the way she went, and how many people and different kinds of folks she had those conversations. So she really changed our business, where afterwards we got a lot of, I would say, internal culture build just from having real good conversations that were tough. I mean, it wasn't easy to tell somebody you're not going to get a raise for 2 years. It wasn't easy to do those things. And she said, you got to have that conflict. And I had never seen anybody have that conflict with us, challenging us and calling us out on what we might not have been doing the last couple of years of rightfully employees. So the second one was more business facing. And at Vegas.com historically was always 54% female purchases. But the challenge we had, or I thought we had, and I would talk to people about it, is our developers, our product team, and our technology facing teams, they were all males. And so we were only really capturing 46% of the things probably right, and just getting accidentally okay on the 54%. And so we challenge each other to make sure that we're trying to bring some female influences, whether that was talking to other organizations, our marketing team, to give them more input into the product or to what we were developing, and our biz dev team, because those tended to be more female based, but they were also customer based. So doing that empowered us to change the look and feel of the site, change the way we go through a transaction engine, change the way that we might offer coupons or discounts. And it really allowed us to become better as a business, and another piece of why we were so successful.
And I think that's a huge, because in the industry, in our industry, you know, we tend to do a lot of surveying, but we know our customer base and what they like. And do they like the green bell at the top or the blue bell at the top, or things like that? And to be cognizant and realize that your customer base is very similar to your employee base, and what you got to do about that is pretty big. So it's all about improving the business. So just really quickly on the way out, what advice would you give other allies, whether they're male or female or whatnot? Like what kind of stuff would you tell them?
Yeah, well, the first thing is, I think good managers want their people to be happy, productive, and great at their jobs. It always doesn't happen the same day. But we'd also like you to be yourselves. And I'm by far a great manager, but I know that I'd rather have people be themselves than try to be some version they think they have themselves, especially new managers who think that they've got to, things like, well, I got to put this poster on my wall that says excellent, and that's going to make you excellent. That's just not how it works. But yeah, right. I mean, I'm very much about that, but like, it doesn't necessarily mean you're excellent. And but also, you find a lot of managers trying to replicate something they've seen in the CEO's office, or the ego, or the whatever it is. So the first piece of advice is just be yourself. Everyone's going to have an ego. How are you going to learn about how that ego works so you can get what you need from that to be more successful, for the business to be more successful? Also reflect. If you have an interaction, walk away from it and ask yourself, okay, that felt like it went good, but don't be so naive to think that every time you talk to somebody, it went great. That's just being naive and not right, because that's impossible. And that doesn't mean, also the other side, don't be so harsh on yourself. Like, carrying the individual interactions with somebody that may be just a jerk and you're never going to have success with them, and to carry that to the next day, home to your family, whatever, it's just work. Your family matters, your friends matter, the business matters, but it's just work. Don't let an individual impact you for weeks and become bitter, because the only thing that bitter helps is really nothing. Unless you're a murderer, then it helps that. But like, bitter does not help. And I would say that the more bitter people get, the worse they get at their jobs. And if you can't put that aside and realize the person on the other side of your conversation still has a life to go, and their spouse has to live with them a long time, you don't. And you realize, who knows why they're positioning themselves like this, because maybe they didn't get over something that happened to them. It's okay to let it go, because you're not going to be successful carrying around that. Let it drive you to go be better than anything they expect, but to carry it around so that you're just upset all the time, and then you treat the ones you really care about the same way, or your employees the same way. It's just, don't copy that behavior. So that would be the biggest two things I would advise anybody who's talking about how to be an ally and support. And also, if there's a good idea, support it. Like, don't be quiet about it. It doesn't matter who it comes from. Just get on board and try to find a way to help that idea be heard. Because at the end, it's going to be the collective group that gets these great things done for businesses at the end, which means great things done for customers. And that's the exciting part. It's not the battle to get something done. It's when it's done and it's really contributing to the business is when it's exciting.
And that's when you can share the success, right?
Yes, sharing the success, high fives, and all that good stuff.
Fist pumps, high fives.
Yeah,
Love it.
yeah.
Love it. All right. Well, thank you. It was wonderful to have you on. I'm glad I could
Thank you. That was fun.
voluntold my husband to get here today. But we hope you guys take some of this and the rest of the interviews today with a grain of salt, and good luck to you all.
All right. Well, Bert Bean, hello. Thank you so much for joining us on Global Gaming Women's Fair Game podcast. Thanks for being here.
Bronwen, it's so great to be here, and it's always great to talk to you.
Yay. Well, I'm so thrilled to have you as a guest on this episode. When the idea came up about all of the hosts bringing on our personal male allies, I immediately thought of you for so many reasons. And I'm excited to get into a lot of the amazing initiatives that you have led, founded, how they've impacted Insight Global and our gender equity internally. But one of the specific anecdotes that happened very recently that I just wanted to shout out, which was a big reason that I wanted to bring you on as a guest for this episode. So just a couple of weeks ago, we had our Women's Leadership Summit in Chicago, our annual Women's Leadership Summit, and your flight was canceled. It was the weekend of all the flight dramas, and you
Yeah.
drove over 12 hours from Atlanta to Chicago to be there. That's amazing. That is
Yeah.
so incredible.
Well, I first off, look, I love a road trip. I mean, I really do. I love getting a chance to escape in a way and driving across the country. But I just, I fly a lot, and I could just tell there was something really weird going on with that whole crowd strike thing. And I had this feeling. I was actually in line with two other female leaders, senior leaders with the company. And when the flight canceled, and I mean, it canceled right at the gate, I was like, no, we're not getting out. This is bad. They're not going to rebook us. And I travel a lot, so I've got all sorts of status. And I tried to call, and I couldn't even get through. So,
Oh, yeah.
and I wanted to make it before, like, I really wanted to make it to this summit because what the Women's Leadership Council is really near and dear to my heart. And Chicago is far away, but Chicago is not like Seattle, right? So like it's just right there. And and I looked at Brindy and Victoria, the two women that I was with, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna drive. If I leave right now, it was like 10:30. If I leave right now, I can get there by like 8. And it was funny, Brindy, if Brindy was like, she's down for anything. She was like, yeah, let's do it. And Victoria was like, I'm sorry, what? and we knew
Awesome
that
ride.
Victoria has really bad fear of missing out. And so if you think
Same.
about, okay, of the three, was one of them kidnapped? Victoria was the one that was kidnapped because she like didn't want to go, but felt like she had to go. And so she came with us, and it was great.
Oh, I love
So
that. I love that. Honestly, that sounds like such a fun road trip. I would love to be in a car for 12 hours with those people.
it was fantastic.
Yes. Well, I just feel like that is so indicative of your commitment to allyship. And I'm so excited to get into the weeds of everything that you've done and impacted Insight Global. But let's start with really your origin story, your background. Tell us about, your background at Insight Global, what brought you to where you are today, and what you do as Chief Executive Officer of
Great.
our amazing company.
Awesome. So I grew up in a really small town in Alabama. Both my parents worked. My mom was a career sales. She started as a nurse and a career salesperson, and has been sort of my business role model for forever. I went to Auburn, got a degree in marketing, started working at Insight Global as a recruiter. Insight Global is a staffing company, and so we the two main roles that we have are the sort of sales role or account management role, which is in charge of meeting with clients and understanding what their needs are to hire staff, and then recruiters, which actually go out and find those contractors or consultants to meet those needs. And I started here as a recruiter, as did you, Bronwen.
Yes.
And kind of came up through the ranks in sales and sales leadership, and then moved into my role as CEO in January of 2018.
Yes. And so, with all of the experience that you've had, especially at Insight Global, so why is allyship and advocating for equity, especially gender equity, why is that so important to you?
Yeah, so I had really, through like half of my career here, I was in roles where I traveled to all of our offices, and I just developed so many amazing relationships and friendships with all the people in our company. And it's like one of my favorite things to do is to get into the field and to go meet our folks. And I started seeing we've got a lot of amazing women, really, really talented women. Sales is really hard, and sales demands that you be gritty, demands that you get really comfortable with adversity. And I kept seeing all of these really strong, successful salespeople also be women. And I just thought that was so cool. And it reminded me a lot of my mom,
Yeah.
as a career saleswoman. And so I wasn't surprised, but I love seeing it. And I got married, and I've got 4 kids. I've got 2 daughters now, and our oldest child is Ellie. She's 16. She's clearly the alpha. She's like a little Bronwen. and she definitely is, going to be somebody that could do whatever she wants, and I could see her in sales. And
Love that.
the closer I was getting to the CEO role, I wanted to make sure that we were building really good systems in place in the company to make sure that we're taking these great women, female producers, and turning them into leaders to help run the company. And we were seeing a lot of women struggle to make it to that last 5 yards, really into leadership and certainly into senior leadership. And there was a lot of concern, well, what happens to my role if I'm a mom? Or, I don't see a lot of women ahead of me in senior leadership roles. So how do I do that? And is that okay? Can I be a successful senior executive female here? And what does it look like? So it just,
Yeah.
I like to, I like to, I like to sort of do. I'm a bit of a doer, hence driving to Chicago, I guess. And so the closer I started getting to the CEO role, I thought, we don't need to just like hope this happens. We need to try to create ways and
Yes.
mechanisms and groups like the Women's Leadership Council to ensure that it happens.
Yeah.
And so,
Intentional
yeah,
action.
exactly.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So let's chat more about that. I'd love to hear about your role in the inception of the Women's Leadership
Mm,
Council. And I myself, right, am and one of the divisions, our West Coast division. So I'm one of the leaders on our right divisional council. And it has seriously been one of my favorite parts about Encycle. I mean,
mm,
there's so much that I love about our culture, so much I love about our company, but those WLC moments have seriously been, some of my favorite memories. And it blows my mind that we are almost 70% female as a company
mm,
and inadvertently. It makes me so proud. And one of my favorite parts of that too is that I have so many conversations with so many men and women throughout our company. They have never even thought twice about, gender taking them back from, potential and
mm,
progress within the company, which makes me so proud. So
mm,
let's chat about,
mm.
what was your role in creating the WLC and how has it been?
Yeah.
How has the impact been?
So about a year before I moved into the role of CEO, I brought this idea to, I didn't know what to call it exactly, but I was like, thinking that we needed some sort of a group that could help solve some of these problems and could help advocate for female leaders in the company. And it was shot down. It wasn't really. It was like, what does that mean? And what if they ask for stuff we can't do? And
Yeah.
um, I like getting into the mess and figuring it out. And so, you know, so that was a bummer. But a year later, when I became
Yeah.
CEO, that was the second decision I made, was in my first week as CEO, was to do it. The first one was to extend our maternity leave policy, which was
Yes.
horrible. I don't know,
Thank
it makes
you.
me, it's no, it was, I don't even like talking about it. It was so bad, but we fixed that. And then the second one was, I called Emma Garber, who's a senior leader in the company today, vice president, and I was like, "Hey, Emma, and she's somebody that I've known for years. And her and I started actually on the same date together almost 20 years ago. She started in
Oh my
DC, I
God.
started in Atlanta. She's a very, very, very good friend. And I was like, I think we need something like this. I don't know what to call it exactly, some sort of women's leadership group, but I think I just, it's a kernel of an idea, but it was some sort of group or way for women to get together and to tackle some of these issues around maternity leave or around how to grow sort of female leaders in the company. And she was like, yes, 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 yes. She's like, I don't really know how we're going to do it either, but we definitely need that. And let's just go
Yeah.
figure it out. And so the first meeting was maybe a few months after that, and it was in DC. And then the second one was in Chicago, maybe the next quarter after that. The next one was in Atlanta. And it was really messy. And it was really, we tried our best to have an agenda, and we talked about a bunch of things, and sometimes we talked in circles, but it was okay because every meeting we got closer and closer on what we were trying to really aim towards, which was helping women partner together in advance and just evolve into leadership here. And yeah, it was cool.
Yeah. Oh, that is so special. And right, that's perfect example of why you consistently win so many accolades about right, best CEO for women, right, best
Mm,
workplace for women. I mean, it emanates throughout our culture. You can feel it, obviously, with you, having the intentionality of driving to the WLC summit, the way that that impacted, right, every single woman who was there, realizing how much you care. And also, right, I think it's so interesting the point that you made, right? Oh, well, what if they ask for things that we can't provide?
mm,
And that it's such an interesting, comment of feedback because, we
Yeah.
know from research, from data, right? Companies that have more women and their leadership teams consistently outperform and achieve higher
Mm,
revenue results than teams that have a smaller percentage of men to know, or excuse me, women to know women. So we
yeah.
know that, right? And also too, it's like these books like Lean In, by Sheryl Sandberg, for example, which is a huge book within Global Gaming Women. We are
Mhm.
actually the organization with the most Lean In circles. But right, she actually talks about at the beginning of the book, right? She's I forget if she was working at Google or Meta at the time, but she's pregnant. She's one of the first executives to be pregnant, and she's coming to the office for a big meeting, has to park at the back of the parking lot because there's no pregnancy parking. She's like waddling up, and she's like, "Oh my
Mm,
gosh, why don't we have pregnancy parking?" And the CEO at
mm,
the time was like, "Hey, you're right. Why don't we?" And it's just right, that diversity of perspective, that diversity of thought, and so
mhm.
it's interesting to hear like, oh well, what if they ask for things we can't provide? A lot of times it's just a diversity of perspective, and right,
Yeah, and it's just I
inclusivity
think
helps.
it's yeah, I think it's just totally fear and human nature. It's fear of the unknown, and there's just not. I think it's just important to remember, I guess, for allies or for if you're, let's say, a male leader and you're sort of figuring out how do I embrace this, and is there maybe there is real fear there. Well, know that we all still have a business to run, and our women know that too, and nobody wants to be a token anything, and nobody wants just
Mhm.
to just
Yes.
to get a title or something just because of their gender. And so help make them a part of growing the business, help make them a part of driving revenue, and help make them a part of solving real business problems, and bring them in close, and they'll help you do that. They'll help you do
Yeah.
that with a fire and an energy and a tenacity that is stronger than you probably suspect, because it's like, okay, this is my shot, right? I got to make this count. And that's what we've seen,
Yeah.
is that I love feeding the hungry, and I love
Yeah.
betting on people that really want to prove that they can do something. And you get that with a lot of women. You just really do. They've been told all their life, like, you're going to have to work for it. Nobody's going to give anything to you. And so the ones that are still there, that are still willing to say, like, okay, well, yeah, give me a shot, boy, I mean, get out of their way. They can really move mountains and get some stuff done. And
Yeah.
the nice thing is that as a business leader, that's really good for business. And
Yes.
so it's fun to sort of ride that.
Yeah, yeah. One of my favorite gender economists, Katika Roy, one of her taglines is, whether or not you believe gender equity to be a social issue, right? Whether or not you believe in that, it's a $12 trillion global economic opportunity. Like,
Yeah,
mic drop. It's
yeah,
literally
yeah,
whether or not you believe that. It's a huge,
yeah.
and also I think it's important to know, and we can pull up a quick chart here and screen share. But right, what I think is so cool is that, right, this is the right thing to do. And with you creating the WLC and so many other equitable initiatives that you have plugged into the Insight Global culture over the years since you became CEO, right? Our Diversity Council, our Insight Global Family Foundation, right? Merit-based Fridays, off the list goes on. L tips for everybody who starts on day one, right? There's a lot, but right, this graph shows that as we were making those injections into our culture, right, the intentionality was better employee experience, was retention of our people, but we actually ended up over doubling in revenue. I
Mm.
mean, that results speak for themselves. I mean, what were you expecting that when you were making those injections into our culture?
I was. It's funny. I wasn't expect. For me, I wasn't even really thinking about the results. I don't mean to sound like I didn't care about financial results. I mean, I in my role, I have to care about financial results, or they'll fire me.
Yeah.
um, but it was just more of it was just, I don't want our people to suffer. I don't want our people to come to work not feeling great about themselves, and I certainly don't ever want. I've got like a paranoia that people will think that I'm kind of a BS leader, and not really care about what's really going on the ground
No.
floor. And so I wanted to do right by our people, and that was it. And then yeah, what was sort of that was sort of one track mind, and let's just fix that first. And then what I started to learn quickly was, wow, if you take care of people, your people, then they'll start to really take care of the company. And we're lucky that we're in a
Yes.
services business. And so I am a real big believer that I think this is true with any company, but certainly any company that gets into services, they're only going to be as good as their people's willingness to care about delivering that service. So how do you get people to care about
Yes.
delivering that service really well? You really pour into them, you really take care of them, you build programs that where they feel a little bit better about coming to work every single day. And then you're going to win those battles against your competition on a Friday afternoon when their people don't really care and they're kind of mailing it in, and your people feel a little bit more charged up to make that one more phone call, let's say. And I
Yeah.
think that at scale is a very, very powerful thing. And that's really how you use culture to become your causation for success.
Yes. Ah, so well articulated. And I mean, I've been with Incycle now over 9 years, not leaving. I adore this company so much, and a lot of it is because of that culture. And so, oh, just so grateful for everything you've built, and I love being a part of it. And I love too that right now we actually get to offer that to our clients. It's worked so well for us internally
Mm.
that now we've got our culture consulting, DEIB consulting, and it makes me so proud to have the opportunity to help clients in the way that right I experienced it myself internally. So
Yeah,
just a beautiful full circle.
it's a big scary world out there, and lots of people are dealing with these issues, and it's so messy. And a lot of people want to do it right, but they're nervous. And so yeah, I love just what you said, Bronwyn, that we can go out into that world and try to help people figure it out. And there is so much demand out there for it. There is just so much need for it. Even if there isn't demand, there's definitely need for it.
Yeah,
And so yeah, we
there is.
it's I think it's our job to get into that stuff.
Yeah, yes. Makes me so happy. Well, so in closing, what would you say are kind of your biggest, your biggest advice, your biggest calls to action to male peers, colleagues, right, other, male leaders out there when it comes to allyship?
So I don't. There's sort of I've got like a few things, so I'll try not to ramble too much. But the first thing I would say is don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of it. Really lean into doing intentional things, real things, creating real programs that like can fail. You're right to
Yeah.
make them more real. Don't be afraid of that stuff and lean into it. If you do it with the right group of people, whether they're women or any other underrepresented group, they are going to really take that and run with it, and that's going to give you so much energy in the company. Sort of
Yeah.
other things I would say from a more tactical standpoint is for just remember everybody comes with different stuff, with different baggage, with different starting lines. And
Yeah.
uh it doesn't mean that they're any less smart or any less gritty. They just have a different background. And so if you find
Yes.
yourself in a meeting and you've got, let's say, a senior leader there that's a female, and let's say she's one of one in a group of in a meeting of 10 guys, which I think that's pretty common in corporate America today. If she's not contributing, call on her, right? If she's not contributing, don't hold that against her. Make sure that you're doing your best to give her an opportunity to speak up or to contribute or to make her opinion known. And don't get so self-righteous that, wow, I need somebody to speak up and earn it and that sort of thing. That you're really missing the point there. We all come from different starting places, and you can really tap into great comments and thoughts and opinions and ideas by kind of slowing down and making sure to really engage with everybody in those meetings and sort of in those moments. And know that, yeah, as a leader, it's okay to still. It is your job to do that. That's called development. It's your
Yeah.
job to develop others, and we still need to develop some of our senior leaders too, that are still trying to grow in their own career. So that's just maybe a few things I'd say, Bronwyn. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's a really, really important thing, and I just think allyship is it is how we make our companies so much stronger and so much better. It's how we are able to take somebody that is maybe only bringing about 60% of themselves, 60% of their effort to work every day to 100%. And if we can get that right, that's how we make all of our companies so much stronger.
Yes. Yes. So well said. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This has been amazing. I'm just, once again, so incredibly grateful about the amazing culture that you have created and curated really at Insight Global during your time as our CEO and my favorite part of our organization, right, our Women's Leadership Council. So just thank you for your allyship, everything that you do, what you believe in, and your impact both within Insight Global and everybody that you touch that you probably don't even realize beyond our
Awesome.
walls. So thank you.
Thanks, Bronwen. It's a real pleasure. See ya.
All right. Wow. So our male ally mashup, that was pretty powerful stuff today, huh, ladies?
Wow.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I want to hear some of your key takeaways. So Kate, let me hear it.
Honestly, it was about how we found them and they found us, and how just it was so organic, right?
Yeah.
And when you weren't really looking for something, or when you maybe, just needed a partner, this person just came out of nowhere and really just made things happen for you, which is, I think all three of us resonated with. That was really awesome. So.
Yeah,
Nice,
absolutely. I agree with
yes.
that.
And I especially love, right, especially with Bert's conversation about how all-encompassing it was, right? Not just me, but the entire Insight Global, right, company and our advancement as women employees. And right, that just, to your point, kind of in our intro, right, that it exceeds so much, far beyond just us. And I think the advice and these gems that these amazing guests have dropped are, going to be wildly impactful for a lot of other potential male allies and sponsors.
Yeah, I agree. And for me, having that conversation with Matt, I feel like he's so humble about it, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's really cool about all those things and like laid back and just very like, it's not about me, it's about others. And I love that message. So. Pretty cool stuff. All right, so it's time for my favorite part of the day. Usually like we theme rapid fire questions, but I'm gonna be really real with you. This is a random day. This has no theme whatsoever.
This is the mashup episode.
Yeah,
so, I mean, come on. Throw it at us.
You know how I am. I'm all about a theme. Not today. All right.
Ooh,
Okay.
let's get random.
Who do you text the most?
Oh, my mom.
Mom?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to say we have this big family text, and it feels like I get like 50 a day. So it's got to be this big group family text. How
Yeah. My mom and my aunt as well. I'm really close with.
about you?
Yeah, I think it's my mom, my sister. We also have a big family text, and I feel like it is constantly going off. But I love it because most of it's really random and very funny. So yeah, I think it's the same.
Yeah.
My husband's not really a big texter. Like he does on occasion, but it's not really like intense like the family text. So
Yeah.
Okay, who's your hero?
Amal Clooney. I love her so much. I've mentioned her before on the pod. She just, I think she's so inspiring. And like as we talked about with passion statements, right? Like mine is definitely advancing gender equity, and I mean, that's true. It absolutely is true. But at the core, it's also, right, like advocating against violence against women. And what Amal does is so brave, so courageous, so impactful. And there's just nobody like her. I love her.
Love that.
Wow. I took a totally different personal spin, and I'm going to tell you, like, my dad is like my ultimate hero. Yeah. And I won't get into it because I'll start crying, but he's the one that made me and shaped me from very young, and we're still really close. So definitely Pops.
Aw.
Okay. Well, I mean, ditto. Like I have the same answer. So it's my hero is my dad, but also my mom. Like I think like my dad kind of shaped who I am as a professional and who I am as a working mom, I guess I'd say. But then my mom like really taught me what it was like to be a parent and what it's like to be a mom, and showed me the best way to raise my kid. And like I appreciate that so much. And so I have two. I know that's cheating, but it's my turn to make the game.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. You got it.
Okay. All right. Favorite dessert. See, I told you it's so random.
Wow.
I love lemon. Anything lemon. Lemon bars, lemon cake. I love lemon.
I'm going to go ice cream all the time. 24/7. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, ice cream.
Okay.
Yes.
It's so cool to live in your house.
I know. Ice cream party at Kate's.
I'm a cheesecake fan.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I like
Okay.
strawberry cheesecake and stuff like that.
So
Like
savory.
some with like a fruit in it,
Yeah.
Interesting.
But I'm a sweets person, so really, if you put anything in front of me, I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have a big sweet tooth.
Okay, what is your Hogwarts house?
The maroon one?
Is that the Gryffindor one?
Yeah, Gryffindor.
Gryffindor, yeah.
That's mine.
They're the nice ones, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, that's
totally
what
in that
Harry
group.
was in.
Yeah.
I think I remember taking those tests. Like all those like quizzes
You're not a
when we were
Slytherin?
younger.
You're not a Slytherin.
I've gotten Ravenclaw and Hufflepuff. I don't remember what they're about though.
Oh, you're.
But those. Oh, really?
For
Wait,
sure.
what's the vibe?
That's got to be the Happy Society Hufflepuff. Yeah. Bring it back.
That's where they come from, apparently.
Okay.
Hufflepuff.
What were you afraid of as a child?
Bees.
What?
Bees.
I thought you
Bed
said
wasps.
puppies. I was like,
Oh gosh,
what?
no. Puppies are cute.
Mine's close. David Bowie.
Oh.
You know that movie where he comes in and steals the kid?
Oh.
You know that one? What is that?
Oh,
The
so
Labyrinth.
Kidnapping.
The Labyrinth. David Bowie literally
No.
steals the
Oh.
child out of the crib. And David Bowie to
Oh
this
my
day, if I see a
God.
picture of him, it's like creepy. Yeah, I'm
PTSD.
telling you. I'm telling you too much right now. But
Interesting.
let's not start sending me David Bowie memes,
I know,
okay?
I know.
Like
You know
Wheels
exactly
are
what I was
turning.
thinking.
Yeah.
secret
Like
sauce.
2 a.m. I'm just gonna send you one.
The GGW podcast group chat is about to be who we text the most for David Bowie memes.
Keep the
You just
David
made
Bowie to
You just
yourself.
made a really big mistake.
I want to curse right now.
That was
Okay,
so-
what's yours? Let's move on.
Okay,
Topic change.
so the drains in the sidewalk,
Oh
yeah.
hate them. Because of the It movie, you know, and like all
oh
that.
yes.
Like I always thought I was just gonna fall down.
That
Couldn't
makes
fit
sense.
through it, but I always thought I was gonna fall down it. So
Yeah.
it was like, I hated that.
Irrational fear.
Interesting. Actually, now that we're talking about this, tornadoes. After I saw like tornado movies, I would have like night terrors as a child for no reason. I was in
Okay,
Virginia.
awesome.
We don't
That
really.
is a really interesting mashup of fears.
yeah, I
So-
have that on brand with
David
mashup
Bowie,
theme.
sidewalk,
Tornadoes.
drains, and
Tornadoes and bees.
okay, all right. Which I thought she said puppies. So
yeah, I know. I mean, I am a cat person, as we know, but
okay, so what are you afraid of now?
still bees. Oh my god. Still. Actually, okay. Do y'all know about these tarantula hawk wasps? Have you heard about these? There has been an invasion on my sun deck. It is so terrifying. They're the biggest wasps in the world. They have the most painful sting. And I had to, I can't believe I'm admitting this right now, but I lie to people and tell them that I'm allergic because I'm so embarrassed about how I act. So my apartment complex, don't listen to this. They think I have a hardcore allergy. I get
To these tarantula
special
wasps?
spray. Yes, I know. I like freak. Oh, it's embarrassing.
So now we're mashing up creatures.
Clearly not an outdoorsy girl. Over here.
I don't know. I can't talk right now. I'm crying from tarantula wasp conversation.
What is that? Oh my
Okay,
gosh.
all right.
Don't Google it. It's scary.
What are you afraid of now?
I'm gonna say tarantula wasp. Plus,
You should be.
Ethically.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I also took this a little differently, and I would say my biggest failure is still failure is my biggest fear. Like,
Oh.
it's not like a thing. It's
Yeah.
more of like a holy crap. I'm
Yeah.
gonna if I mess up. So
Yeah. But progress over perfection.
in your head, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not a wasp, but you know,
Tarantula wasp.
yeah.
That is now my new fear. I've
Yours. So
Done.
new if you're on that. too.
All right. Favorite moment of the past summer.
Wait, what's yours?
Yeah.
Oh no, I agreed with both of you.
Oh, yeah.
No, I actually was going
Check,
to say
check.
failure. Yeah.
Really?
Oh.
We should stop being the same person.
I
That
know.
would make this better. Yeah.
I just need bigger earrings and we're locked in.
Yeah. True.
But now it's tarantula wasp. So
Okay. Good call.
Yeah. All right. Favorite moment of the past summer.
Vacations. I've loved being out of town. I got to travel a lot this summer. So it was awesome. I went to Philly and the beach a lot, and it's great. So
Aw,
yeah. Yeah.
I agree. Like I had so much travel, but some of my favorite travel was with family. Like my family in Virginia came out to California for the first time, and we've never had like everyone together on my mom's porch in LA, which was really cute.
Very cool.
Amelia, my little 10-year-old niece, technically my cousin, but my family dynamic, as we know. She's also my little godchild. I love her so much. She's so cute. So we were sitting, I was visiting home for the 4th of July, and we were sitting on the couch watching Sephora videos, as we do. Of course, she's 10.
Been there.
Yes, it's what 10-year-olds do. And just out of the blue, she turned to me and she was like, B, you know, I want to be like you when I grow up. I want to travel a lot for work, and I don't have kids, and I want to spoil my nieces and nephews. And I was like, that's pretty fun, Amelia. So it was just a
Adorable.
cute little connection
That's
moment.
pretty cute.
Very
I love
cool.
her.
How about you, lady?
Yeah, definitely the vacations. I had a great vacation back home to New Jersey this summer and spent some time with some family and, you know, really disconnected and got on the beach and did, you know,
Yeah.
went to the boardwalk and ate some bad things.
It's a good
and-
reminder for all of our listeners out there, right? Like, take some time for
Yeah.
yourself, because I think all three of us just said going on
You're
vacation and
right.
taking
Yeah.
time for yourself.
How
I
fun
mean,
it
it's
is.
how important it is. So
You're right.
Seriously,
that
this
mental
is my
space.
favorite game.
Yeah.
Like I hope we never run out of questions. I don't think
No
we
way.
will, but
No
I mean,
way.
That's what
season 2, we better
ChatGPT is
ramp it
for.
up, right? Yeah,
Just wait.
absolutely.
We know about AI now, thanks to Frasier. So
All right, so we have some upcoming events. We're headed into G2E season. You're going to see some cool episodes coming up with, you know, some talks about how to network and trade showing and all those things. And GGW, we have a big presence at the show, so you'll see some really cool stuff from us. Kick Up Your Heels, always a big event. Sip and Social, mainstay thing. You got to be there. I'm
yes.
excited about all of it. How about you guys?
yeah, and the Lean and Breakfast, one of my favorites.
Breakfast, yes. The new retreats. Oh my gosh.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, new retreat. That'll be a good time.
Yeah.
You'll see us there for sure.
It's
Yeah.
too much excitement. I'm going to have to step away for Friday.
All right, ladies. Thanks again for being here. We appreciate both of you and
Yes, we
the
love
time
this.
we get to spend together. This is awesome.
It's a good
Yeah.
episode.
Chat again soon.
All right.
Yay. Mhm.